Hi darlings, I hope you're all well. I wanted to do another video on quiet BPD because it's been ages. I wanted to talk about like the misconceptions because I've recently been getting quite a lot of comments, unfortunately, by people in our own community. I just want to clear some stuff up, stick to the facts of the situation. We're all the same, it's one diagnosis, so we're all in this together. As they say in High School Musical, we're no better than people who do lash out. I've once been told, you just hate people who lash out. Like, no. I point out that sometimes the image of what we have in our heads of what BPD looks like is harmful. There's no one way BPD looks like. I think it's harmful because that leads to people getting misdiagnosed. Because people with quiet BPD don't exhibit the same classic explosive symptoms. My boobs were popping out a little bit just then.
Big boobs.
It can take us longer to get a diagnosis because we don't exhibit the classic symptoms of lashing out. So it's not saying one's better than the other, it's literally quite simply saying we don't have enough variety in our representation.
Child. Anyway, so
people with quiet BPD won't even realise they have BPD. Not getting help isn't a good thing. I'm sick of sensationalising classic borderline behaviour. It reminds me of Sia's tweets. A spectrum. No BPD is better than the other. We just need a mix of different stories about the same disorder to add to the narrative and help others. Here are some of the things I've been told by our community. I had comments on my YouTube videos. Quiet BPD isn't real. That's kind of dumb. Just have a quick Google. It's not that hard to Google things about BPD. You'll also find many other different types of BPD. So yeah, there's 4 subtypes, and I actually do think the word subtype might be misleading because it's not 4 different types of people. Instead, these categories describe different ways of how we cope with the same incredibly painful condition. If you're interested, Dr. Todd Grande makes amazing videos on this. Having quiet BPD, just to quickly summarise, I've made videos on it before, but just basically means we have the same symptoms of BPD, like any mood swings and behaviours, but we just kind of turn it inwards. Quiet BPD isn't actually really distinguished from regular BPD, at least not in the official sense, because it's not in the DSM. If you have quiet BPD or petulant or self-destructive, it's just BPD. It's all one thing. Let's stop alienating each other because that's weird. What's dangerous about BPD is that when you act inwards in an already invisible mental illness, it's harder to diagnose, and with quiet BPD, you may direct significant, important, overwhelming emotions to yourself without letting others see them. You feel the same anger, anxiety, emotional obsessions and attachments, fear of abandonment, rejection, mood swings, self-blame and guilt, severe self-doubt and rage. We do feel everything. We feel the exact same roller coaster of emotions. The only thing that distinguishes us from regular BPD is we'll be working harder to not let anyone see them and shut them down and push them aside. So it's literally the same thing, just a different way of coping with them. By people with regular BPD saying it's not real, it's like saying your own BPD isn't real. It's all the same thing, you know? Every subtype and every way you experience BPD is very real and very painful, so it's all about trying to find a way you can cope with it and live alongside it well. The next myth is going to be it's just high functioning. I've been told just because you have it easier than the rest of us doesn't mean you're better than us. You're so high functioning. No. That's not true. It's not just a high-functioning version. I find it very hard to function sometimes. Maybe we're a bit better at hiding symptoms, but when we're alone or we feel safe to open up to someone, it all comes out. We cry just as much. We have meltdowns all the time, just like regular BPD, because it's just BPD. Symptoms may seem invisible to others because we hide them, but when I was younger and I got alone, after a long day of school, I would kind of look like I had no emotions and I'd be good at shutting them down, but as soon as I got home I'd be crying. But emotional pain, especially severe emotional pain that comes with BPD, is very serious and it should never be something that you hide and that you never speak about. I think that's when quiet BPD gets very dangerous, when you bottle it all up. We're less likely to seek help. It's not high functioning, it's just more like we shut them down. So yeah, I think high functioning is a very misleading term that indicates that a person with this type of BPD doesn't show their symptoms and are always able to cope every day in situations like work and school. In my case, that was not it. Like, it isn't just high functioning BPD, we still experience the same emotional pain, we just hide it. That's literally the only tiny difference. We're all the same. I may seem reasonably sane to my friends or maybe my family, but if they could see some of my like intrusive thoughts or just little inside of my brain, I think they'd probably be shocked. It's just as hard to deal with as any other subtype. It's not harder, it's not less hard. We're all in this together. BPD is like incredibly painful and we're all doing the best we can with what we know. Sometimes what we know is shutting down. Sometimes what we know is lashing out. Not one is better than the other. It's just important to show all the different faces of BPD because it's really common but no one knows anything about it. We need more stigma-free conversations about it. Everyone with BPD is misunderstood. I think people with quiet BPD are a bit misunderstood too. And we're all carrying the same disease with the exact same stigma. I get so much hate on my channel. I usually delete it. We see stigma just as much as any other subtype. There's this quote by this doctor which I found, and she says BPD has like this big representation in the psychological community as presenting as angry or explosive or misunderstood as manipulative, which is sad. But this doctor basically explains that the symptoms of quiet BPD are often overlooked while the patient is being evaluated, makes it more difficult for someone with quiet BPD to get diagnosed. That's pretty much all I had to say. Thank you so much for watching and I hope you got anything from this.